Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on the program this morning. Our second half of conversation look at the build up to the 2027 elections, particularly starting with the ruling All Progressive Congress APC over the party's silence on a joint ticket ahead of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election campaign. There have been wide speculations about the president probably changing his running mate for the position of the VP slot. This morning, joining us to discuss this and other political stories is a revered political lecturer from the University of Abuja. I'm talking about the head of Department of Political Science, Professor Sheriff Ghali Ibrahim. Professor, good morning and welcome to the program. It's always a pleasure. Prof, let's get your thoughts. The presidency is yet to make a consensus on its position as to how they intend to 2027. Whilst President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has got a number of endorsements.
Sound check.
Individuals and institutions struggle to form a government through political struggle, through campaigning, interpretation of party manifesto, campaign promises, and bringing individuals of like mind who are actually charismatic in the society, who are actually loved by the people, and who can aid in the delivery of that particular victory politically and democratically. Coming down to APC as well as the struggle, especially by the Northern Caucus, to replace Kashim Shettima, in his capacity as Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There are those who make an assertion in the North that in the previous presidential election, Kashim Shettima, being the vice presidential aspirant, was not even able to deliver his state, that is Borno State. The Southeast was not able to give high level of vote in the previous elections. So therefore, the Northwest was able to galvanize electorate and produce more votes, which actually culminated into the victory of the party. So in their assertions, Kashim Shettima should now rest, because if we should go by the politics of number, democratically speaking, Kashim Shettima is not qualified to be the running mate for Mr. President when the Northwest is there with struggle to ensure the victory of this particular party and the victory of Mr. President. So in their own analogy, the Northwest should actually come to this particular aid of this particular party to produce the vice president in next particular level, so that the party will actually emerge victorious. So this is a point of contention, a bone of contention, as well as a flashpoint for political and party debacle in the 2027, presidential elections, as we actually envisage. So, but one major area is that it means that the Muslim ticket issue, it might continue to actually, unfold in our country, which in my opinion, we are not supposed to continue with Muslim ticket because politics should be inclusive. All the divergent groups, the multivociferous symbols of Nigeria should be represented politically, and there is equally capable and competent hands across the board from all regions.
Now, Prof, listening to you now talk about the Muslim ticket, it almost brings to mind that you have also looked at the possible replacements for the VP, particularly with the fact that it should come from the Northwest, and some of the key top political figures in the Northwest are mostly Muslims. Talking about such candidates, could you give us a few of those names that have come to your mind and who you think is the top choice to clinch the VP ticket slot?
Yes, in my analogy, in the Northwest, even though it has to continue probably with the Muslim ticket, but if APC should actually have a kind of resounding victory in 2027 elections, and looking at the northwestern part of the country, there is no better candidate than Rabiu Musa Konkoso, who belongs to the ANPP party. Why? Because if you have Kano State, you have victory, in the northwestern part of the country. Even though you have APC, in Katsina State, Kano is not the ruling party governing, it is ANPP. So if there is that particular political alliance between APC and the NNPP, which Rabiu Musa Konkoso is the galvanizer, is the pioneer, or is a great leader, in that particular party, definitely that will ensure victory in Kano State. The remnant of the, loyalists, to the APC, who are on the side of Ganduje, and now coming together to bridge up the gap and all boundaries between Ganduje and Konkoso, that will ensure a kind of overwhelming victory comes 2027 general elections. So these are the permutations, these are the calculations politically made if it should actually come back to northwestern part of the country. And in the northwest, there is no state that is as populous as Kano State. Even the northeast, if you combine many states in the northeast, they cannot actually make up the population of Kano State, or even other states such as Zamfara, Sokoto or Kebbi State, because Kano is highly populated. It has a resounding as well as a greater political suffrage in terms of democracy and electioneering process. So we believe that if APC should look actually inward into Kano State by having a kind of political rapprochement, political reconciliations, political appointment, especially as it relates to that particular, effect, bringing Dr. Rabiu Musa Konkoso, I believe the VP ship will actually become so formidable and victory will be assured. Even though I'm not against Kashim Shettima being the president, but that is the game of politics, that is what entails. Because you need the number in order to actually win. And having looked at the abyss of history, in the past, the Northeast was not able to contribute colossally to the victory of this particular ruling party. That is why some loyalists to this particular party are actually clamoring for a shift. And that particular shift is not actually bad, because the North remains the North. Regardless of the region, if it is the geopolitical, positioning, if it is the Northwest, if it is the North Central, if it is the Northeast, all the same, because the seat is actually being given to the North. So
Prof, I agree with you, much rightly so, in terms of the numerical advantage that the North has in producing whoever emerges as president in the country. But let's bring it back a bit before we go even further to your permutations on the choice of His Excellency Rabiu Musa Konkoso, who you believe might be running as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's running mate. The challenge with that is that currently he is not an APC member. So do you also propose that in order for this marriage to be birthed into fruition, he would need to defect from his party? And what does this do for the NNPP in Kano as well?
You know, a political journey usually starts somewhere. Rabiu Musa Konkoso was not part of the ANPP before. He was not with the APC before. He was with the PDP. And when they wanted a political change, the political earthquake that actually, seized power from the hitherto ruling party PDP, they all become to the ruling party APC. But because of political crisis, conflict of interest, that actually gravitated Rabiu Musa Konkoso and others to actually leave the ruling party, which is the APC, navigating to ANPP. So if there is a political bargaining, political consensus, understanding, and building of trust between and among politicians, between these particular parties, we are not actually engrossed into partying. What we are after is how do we build up the country, Nigeria, regardless of the political party you belong, except if you have a hidden agenda and a different personal aggrandizement to political business and become a political idol, that you be idolized belonging to a particular party. If there is a political consensus, people will actually leave whatever they do, political organization, to come into a bigger bandwagon, which will produce victory for the country and which will ensure political dividends accrued and accorded to the Nigerian people. So I believe if Mr. President will give this particular offer to Dr. Rabiu Musa Konkoso, I believe he's not going to reject that particular offer, but rather begins to actually strategize on how to contribute to nation building, because he's a man who truly believes in nation building. What he has done in Kano State.
Okay.
What Nigerians look at.
Rolo. Evening. Is it good evening? Oh wow.
Does not belong to the the APC, but look at how wonderfully he's performing. There has never been a minister in the FCT who is delivering to the occupant and people of the FCT like okay. But we are telling the truth and the reality. The kind of people we want in the polity who can actually bring changes and galvanize the state of Nigeria into the promised land. That is what we are after. We are not after the party. Nigeria.
Now, Prof, let's also talk about the personality of the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau, who is also being tied to the VP slot. He made a public statement yesterday dispelling the speculations and asking that much focus be on delivering governance. It will not be the first time we see someone from the legislative arm of government tied to such an executive post. Talking about his credentials, do you think that there is a possibility in the future for him to vie for the running mate position in the APC structure?
Well, Jibril Barau in Kano State is not very popular per se. What I mean by popularity, if you are popular, you're the only image and you are the only icon that the people see and they lean on. So in Kano State, there are people who are bigger and louder than Jibril Barau. When they talk, Jibril Barau cannot even talk where they are.
Good evening and welcome to Event 360, your front row pass to the most impactful event shaping Nigeria's profession.
So Jibril Barau, if he should be choosing to serve as the running mate to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I believe it's going to be a political fiasco. Why? Because he's already within the party. So what we are trying to point out and designate here is that you are looking for a way to provide political incrementalism. Incrementalism, I mean here, increase in the quantum and magnitude and power of your political party, which will actually lead to victory. So if you are able to bring other opposition parties, especially the ANPP, to actually come together with the ANPP, and the ANPP, the only way for you to bring ANPP is when you assure them of this particular position. So if you do this, you are going to have a kind of a formidable force, which will guarantee victory in 2027. So Jibril Barau, I believe, is a politician, he's a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, deputy Senate president. But in my belief, it's not yet his time, because the people do not yet recognize with him as powerful as to occupy that particular position, because there are men, before him, and there are men above him who are actually more charismatic politically, who are more politically inclined than him. I'm not really against him. I never met him. He doesn't know me, but I know the name. I know him being in the Senate, and I have nothing against him actually. But being an analyst, I only analyze from the lenses of political analysis, from what I see and in my opinion.
Now, talking about the role of the opposition in this regard, it almost seems as though the key opposition parties have some internal crisis rocking them. We'll start with the SDP, which is the latest one on board. It's a party that welcomed the ex-Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasser El-Rufai. But this morning, the party has issued a statement saying that it is looking to suspend its national chairman, national youth leader, and other top party positions over a perceived misappropriation of funds. Prof, what do you make of this party position and the crisis that is purportedly now rocking the SDP?
As far as I'm concerned, there is no opposition party in Nigeria. There is no opposition. We just have miniature political parties who are less influential, who cannot actually challenge the ruling party. To this particular regard, those who will come into building a mega party, I believe I have not seen so much, strong personalities that are actually capable of dethroning the concurrent ruling party of the country. Who are they? Where are they? How politically structured are they?
Prof, not even the PDP. When you talk about these miniature parties, not even the PDP, who for the large part of our democratic and civil roots.
Not even the PDP, because the PDP is also in crisis. And when your party is in crisis, there is not that particular political unity and cooperation to that particular level to be able to dethrone and depose a ruling party. If PDP alone cannot actually win 2027 general elections without bringing all other political parties. If all other political parties could actually come together truly and sincerely as an opposition, then they could actually lay a threat or pose a threat against the ruling party. But as far as we are concerned today, and what we are seeing unfolding within the polity of Nigeria, there is no drastic opposition that is matured enough to do away with the ruling party. If there is, which political party? ANPP of Rabi Musa Konkoso is very popular in Kano State. Yes, we believe Rabi Musa Konkoso is a leader, a great leader in northern Nigeria, but even ANPP is not as formidable to actually form a government as we speak, as now, without a coalition. And that particular coalition has to be strategic, has to be a great coalition. So what we are saying here is that APC, you see other members of other political parties decamping, leaving their jettisoning their parties, coming to be part of the ruling party. So this means that the opposition parties are rather strengthening the ruling party the more. So up to now, they have failed to actually come into terms, settle down politically, resolve all differences and conflict to face and challenge the ruling party. And that we have not yet seen. We do not know, probably before the twilight of this particular year, or even next year probably, before they get well organized, coordinated, and be able to challenge the concurrent political ruling party. But otherwise, I personally do not see any mega coalition, presently that serves as a threat to the ruling party at all.
Now, talking about the possibility of a mega coalition, there's been wide speculations about the ADA coming on board. There have also been purported sharing formulas in terms of who is heading what region and where the party would be setting up its camp. But the challenge with that is that INEC has said that the ADA, amongst other parties seeking registration, have failed to meet the required criteria. Prof, most of our viewing public have been asking questions of what the required criteria is, and does it have to be so much of a hurdle to get those parties registered in INEC?
Well, sincerely speaking, now we are not even interested in having more political parties. Nigeria is still a multi-party entity. We have different political parties coming from different regions. So I believe it is not yet time for us to be actually clamoring for more political parties to be established. For me, parties shouldn't even be given that particular chance to come on board, because there are other political parties, unlike what is obtainable in Mali, that the military junta has actually banned all political organizations, political parties. If you are to establish new political parties, it is the same crop of people that will actually raise the flags of these political parties. But one major thing we must actually discern and put into cognizance is that Nigeria is strategically structured. If you have like a party from the eastern part of the country and a party from the western part of the country coming together, they can actually form a government and actually overpower probably the north if they should actually collide with the people of the middle belt. And so also the north can actually win an election whenever they are in a merger with the western part of the country or eastern part of the country with other minorities. So who actually has continued to deceive himself is Peter Obi, having a kind of this particular ethnic, let me not say agenda, but being moved by the spirit of ethnicity, regionalism, and tribalism, being an Igbo man thinking that he could actually win the general elections to emerge as a president. Peter Obi, or whatever party he belongs to, he cannot form a government without the other part, of Nigeria region, either with the western region or with the northern region, as well as others. The only threat that could actually shake the APC is if Peter Obi is able to actually come into a coalition with probably Rabiu Musa Konkoso in the north or any formidable force. That is the only way. But if you have people from northern Nigeria telling you that they are forming a political mergers, political coalition, and to depose the current ruling party, I believe that is a mere mirage, a dream that cannot be actually achieved. So therefore, I see 2027 going to be very awesome and very interesting because of the political shift, as well as political happenings. But we continue to wait and see the performance of the current government. If President Ahmed Bola Tinubu should continue to perform, reduce cost of living, make food available, aid farmers, education actually improved, healthcare and all other areas of societal life, walks of life, then I see no force that can actually do away with the ruling party. More infrastructure built up, modernization, international relations being expanded and extended in a healthy way. But if the party, the ruling party, will have a flinch back, have a kind of political deficit in what it has started doing, then definitely it will sow the seed for its self-destruction.
Now, Prof, talking about the candidates from the north that the coalition need, you have mentioned His Excellency Kwankwaso as one of the most formidable. Coming to mind, the person who had looked to pitch tents with Mr. Peter Obi in recent time was the former VP, Waziri Atiku Abubakar, who also has been mentioned as part of those who will be forming the ADA coalition party. I don't know his credentials and how much of a big name he is in the north, don't you think he'll be able to pull in the numerical advantages should he choose to again pitch tent with Peter Obi?
Well, Atiku Abubakar is politically relevant. He's also a political powerhouse. He can actually make a greater shift when he's in alliance with Peter Obi. But the difficulty is that, as I earlier mentioned, Peter Obi thinks that whoever that will actually have such a joint venture must appear to be his second, thinking that he, the galvanizer is the mover, looking at the northeastern support he's actually having. But if Peter Obi should also consider political seniority as well as the power of the population from the north, as well as the north central, then he should be able to realize that having even the vice presidential slot will be better for him for now. He waits another time after the incubation period, then he resurfaces and re-emerges. Atiku and Obi will also make a greater force, a greater partnership without doubt, which everybody in the north, in the east, or in the west should be able to understand. So I actually agree to that. Atiku and Obi will make a formidable and a strong force with regard to 2027 presidential elections.
Now, Prof, let's talk about the People's Democratic Party. One of those who many Nigerians would have thought would be the biggest rivals of the APC, but as it stands now, the internal crisis rocking the PDP has taken different directions. Just a couple of hours ago, INEC had to meet with PDP over a letter it sent notifying the electoral umpire of plans for their 100 NEC meeting. But INEC flagged that invitation for not having the Supreme Court acknowledged signature of its National Secretary in Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Now, the INEC also left PDP with the instruction to go and fix its internal crisis if the NEC meeting and their planned convention is to hold. Do you think that the PDP would be able to come to a consensus on the position of its National Secretary in time for the NEC meeting and National Convention?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the PDP is politically epileptic. And as far as I'm concerned, the PDP is dead politically. Long ago, because the only thing left for PDP is just barrier, as well as the...
Those are quite strong comments from you, Prof, on the state of the PDP.
Of course, PDP, remember Mantu of blessed memory, who clearly came out to the public to clarify and explain the instrument the PDP has been making use of in attaining power, in getting power. Since 2015, the PDP is dead, you like it or not. And it has just continued to remain as an opposition, but now it is being rocked by internal struggle and internal crisis. So even if PDP should, assume power, gain victories in elections, it has to change its names. Even though we're going to see same people, the movement will not change. It's just the name. Same people you're going to be having, same people who will be in power. But PDP as a political party, as far as I'm concerned, politically, in my understanding, PDP cannot form a government for now, except if it is have a kind of a coalition. And that particular coalition is also not to be headed by the name PDP, but rather the name change. And having people with a different political orientation, different political manifesto, and different from those who have been running the party as members of the PDP in order for political change. Because what crippled Nigeria actually is the PDP. The long years of nationhood, the PDP should have made a change. I wrote a thesis particularly on PDP, looking at the political gains it has given to Nigeria, and I came to the conclusion the PDP has succeeded in robbing Nigeria and Nigerians. So most Nigerians do not want to be hearing the name PDP. I'm not partisan. I'm only giving you my intellectual perception and understanding as someone who has been observing Nigeria's political journey from my own thinking and my own opinion. So definitely, members of the PDP will have to make a shift. What kind of a shift? Change in attitude, change in orientation, change in its norms and values, not to exploit the people of Nigeria, but make a change. Because even though the APC fell under Buhari, I must be true to you, that Buhari's regime was a political failure, a political fiasco. There has never been a time in which Nigerians expected political change and dividend of democracy like the time of Buhari when he came. In northern Nigeria, even Sardauna of Sokoto was not able to have that particular political support as Buhari did. People were spending their money in order to sponsor Buhari with their money and without expecting nothing in return. But Buhari became a complete and an utter failure, not only to the northern part of Nigeria, but completely to Nigerian state. So I believe that I actually not in support of any political party or any political candidate. What I want to say and my judgment, my analysis is built and hinged on the basis of political performance and what we gladly see on the ground that benefit Nigeria and Nigerians and improves our country, Nigeria. We usually travel out. We see what we see outside Nigeria. So even though we have tried to build up Nigeria to this particular level, we want a better repositioning of our country, leadership that is responsible and responsive to the people, leadership that the common man will wake up in the morning and say, yeah, God, we thank you. Now we have a leadership. I'm telling you this. I've never met Wike. I don't have any political interest with Wike. And my own political demeanor and behavior does not tally. It's not in tandem with that of Nwesom Wike. But even if you are an enemy of Wike, you must commend his effort in the transformation process of the FCT. And that is what we want. If we have different political ideology, different political orientation, different political parties, what we are after is the dividend. What are we going to bring to the table? What are we going to showcase to the world that this is what we have done to Nigeria? So this is what we are after. Not the parties should continue with their conflict. Nigerians are watching. And if Nigerians should continue to develop and uphold that particular, let me say, political orientation of voting people along ethnic, religious, and regional lines, then Nigerians will continue to suffer. And that was able to be shifted during the 2015 general elections when Buhari came, because Nigerians suffered. Nigerians were being terrorized everywhere, in the market, at home, marketplaces, in schools. Nigerians wanted a shift and a change. That is why they voted for Buhari, and Buhari was not able to make the change. So what we want is, we do not want electing leaders along ethnic, religious, or even political lines. What we're after is, who are those who can listen to Nigerians, to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians? Who will listen and rebuild Nigeria and take Nigeria to the promised land?
Now, Prof, these yearnings are particularly the yearnings of most Nigerian voters, but the challenge has been on conversations surrounding political party ideologies. A number of analysts who have come into our studios have accused 18 political parties in Nigeria of lacking clear-cut ideologies. I don't know your take on this lack of a definitive political party ideology for some of the parties that Nigeria hope to vote for in 2027.
Political parties are not ideological. Okay, you begin to imagine what is the ideology of PDP. If you say the ideology, because the PDP is elitist in nature and orientation. It's a combination, a conglomeration of elites in Nigeria who initially came to build up the PDP. Then the APC emerged as a political messiah that is aligning itself with the masses, going for a rescue mission to salvage the Nigerian masses from the lootings and exploitations of the PDP. And what have we been seeing? The same thing. Nigeria suffer most under Buhari's regime. What MFLA did to Nigeria by changing our currency, you had your money, but you could not withdraw the money and you could not spend the money. The valued currency of Nigeria, Nigerian currency, became highly inflated, a Nigerian economy. So therefore, political ideology is lacking, is absent in Nigerian political party assembly. So what is there is governance by experience. Bola Tinubu is making use of his experience from the previous governance as well as leadership he has actually carried out. And being a politician, you should be able to understand that if you are to go longer, you actually have to carry the masses along. But if you refuse to give to the masses what belongs to the masses, what you are to experience is political demolition, which you yourself as a political leader, you actually carry out yourself. So ideologically speaking, to have a party calling itself we are mass-based political party, okay, or we are result-oriented political party, or among all the political ideologies, you discover that Nigeria's political parties are actually lacking. If you look at the constitution of Nigerian political parties, you come to understand that there is no difference between party A and B. The political manifestos, some politicians are even plagiarizing from the manifestos of political parties in United States of America, political slogans and mantras of European and American politicians. So you need to be independent, you need to be intellectually sound, you need to have that particular spirit of leadership within yourself, and to have that particular resolution as well as spirit of delivering the dividend of democracy. And what Nigerian leaders fail to understand is that they fail to understand that the masses, the people, should be considered first before ourselves. But they consider themselves first before the masses, and that is why they fail.
Now talking about governance, Prof, the challenge on ground now is that there are a lot of perceptions and accusations leveled against the APC that the party has jettisoned conversations around governance and is focused on endorsements and an early campaign for 2027. This was some of the reactions that we got to the massive billboards within the FCT, endorsements by key political stakeholders in the APC, even before the conclusion of the second year in office anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
What do you expect from political investment? President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has brought in people who had invested in him, who had invested in the party. So such political investment definitely will showcase early politicking, early campaigning, early political reshufflement, and early campaigns. So therefore, those who are actually coming, they either have their candidate or they are pushing themselves to emerge. So it is rather a tradition. It is inherent within each and every political party. Even other political parties have already started, assembling, and with this kind of political bandwagoning. So it's not surprising to see the APC, but I believe that the APC government is still working and is still trying to deliver, from the infrastructure built up we are seeing, as well as from the investment in Nigeria that we are seeing, but it's not enough. We are here as interest groups. We are here, in terms of public opinion. The government likes it or not, we have to, pass our judgment, give it a report card, and we also redirect its policy, either domestic or international, for it to do the right thing. Because you are not democratically inclined as a citizen if you cannot actually advise the government on what to do. The government is trying, but it has more and more to deal with, especially the level of poverty Nigerians have actually been engulfed into. Then apart from this, the issue of education, difficulty in acquiring knowledge should be assuaged by this particular government, even though we have seen the approval of the the academic allowance that the universities actually stipulating of getting soon. Then apart from this, the issue of security, there is no secure country in the world, but at least there is improvement. What we need to, I mean, what we used to hear before, it has dramatically and relatively reduced. Then apart from this, the government should actually, reduce the cost of living for the general masses of the country. We are happy that the cost of foodstuff has relatively reduced and gone down, and that is okay. But agricultural modernization, as well as incentivizing Nigerian farmers. Otherwise, this rainy season, many will not go to farm. So therefore, there is the need for the government to do a lot of things in order to actually make a balance. So that is rather inherent for political parties, especially when they are so ambitious to continue to begin early political activities, campaigning, reshufflement, and recruitment. So this is rather inherent among political parties.
Now talking about voter education, you had cited concerns over the voting patterns of Nigerian electorates who prioritize sentiments based on ethnicity and religion going into the polls. Now, this year has been quite a revelation, as a lot of the voters who voted in 2023 had been making statements across social media that come 2027, they would not be voting along those sentiments, saying that they need to vote to end hunger, end insecurity, and vote for better governance. Do you think that this is more than mere talk, and what are your projections going into 2027 as to what you envision would be the voting patterns?
The political behavior of Nigerians has been hinged along regional, ethnic, religious, and tribal lines. But now there was a shift, in 2015. There was an article published which I authored, 2015 general elections, the shift in voting behavior of Nigerian masses. Before Nigerians open up their eyes to vote truly and democratically, they have to suffer. If Nigerians are being killed by terrorist groups, if Nigerians cannot go to school, if Nigerians cannot go to market and vote, then they will be looking for the best candidate. And that was what happened during the 2015 general elections. But now that we are out of that particular mess, Nigerians don't even consider, religion, ethnicity, regionalism, or whatever. Now Nigerians are after the monetary dividend. You give them money, you have their vote. You give them money, you have their mandate. And how does that actually come to reality? It's because Nigerians have been subjected to abject poverty. That particular deprivation has now made the politicians to instrumentalize poverty as a means to getting political power and the mandate of the people. Remember what Fayoshe used to call stomach infrastructure. With 2,000, 1,000, you could earn the vote of an individual, an electorate. So therefore now, regardless of where people come from, either in the church or in the mosque, you give the pastor, you give the imam money, even if the person has a different religion from them, that is where they are going to. Because that is how the society has been structured. Whatever you are after today, it depends on the political economy of your pocket. How much do you have in your money? How are you able to solve your problems? And there is nobody who doesn't have a problem, in the country or even in the world around. So therefore, Nigerians come to understand that even along the ethnic, religious, tribal lines, still they don't get their visions fulfilled. They don't get their demand and need fulfilled. So that is why Nigerians have resorted into the political monetization, the monetary aspect of politics. If you want our vote, give us money. And that is so dangerous, because I give you money, I've already bought your rights, your mandate. So you don't expect me to, provide something after my victory. So this is just the synergy, and this is the arterial relationship that exists between the politicians as well as the electorate in Nigeria. Because people have been impoverished, people have been, put and push into poverty lines, crossing those lines, and people have been victimized, victims of political miscalculations as well as political machinations, and that is why Nigerians have resorted to looking at who is the highest bidder, and therefore we give our mandate to the highest bidder. They know that they are not expecting nothing in return. If he does good, then that is left for him and determines what actually happens next. He comes back or not. If even next time such an individual, a politician, could provide such monetary incentive, Nigerians will still go back to that particular candidate. So what defines and determines political power recruitment in Nigeria today is political monetary incentive.
Now, Prof, in closing, talking about voter apathy, the 2023 general elections for the first time recorded the highest number of registered voters in an election, way over 97 million voters. But the amount of voters who actually produced the results in terms of the presidency were 1/3 of that figure. Many are citing a trust deficit, particularly on the part of the electoral umpire, and unfair voter intimidation as some of the factors that have characterized our elections. Going into 2027, how do we reinstill the confidence of the electorate in the electoral umpire and improve on those who participate in election outcomes?
Fighting poverty. And believe me, you're going to see there is going to be improvement in the number of registered voters in 2027 general elections. Why? Is because there is going to be an opposition which is wishing to establish a government. They will form a coalition and they will try by all means to mobilize people from all their regions, their state, their local government, as well as their ward level. I remember President Tinubu is a politician, a man who was actually breeded, groomed up in Lagos, and came to breed and groom others in Lagos, knows and understands the language of politics and politicking. So President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, I believe that there is going to be serious economic incentivization, which will make people not to actually hide in their dens, but rather come out en masse to vote. So you are going to see voter turnout in 2027. Those who have actually developed political apathy will actually make a shift in that particular direction. So you're going to see massive change in terms of voter registration, as well as in the total number of electorate that will actually cast vote in 2027 general election. It's not by the will of the people, but by the will of the politicians who will now become resolute in motivating and moving the people to go out and exercise franchise.
Well, Prof, I must thank you for taking out time to speak to this issue, and we'll be looking ahead of 2027 to see some of these political permutations you have made on the show and how they unfold. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that was the Prof from University of Abuja. He's also the director of the Information Center there as well. Well, I'm afraid this is as much time will permit for us to review these headline stories as we continue.